All right. Now, what we were saying is we are going to use logistic regression. Okay, just give me a second. We are going to use logistic regression. And what is logistic regression? That is, suppose we have a linear regression that we can try to figure out the relationship between sales and price. Okay, now in this case we can use linear regression. Now imagine I have a dependent variable which is not a continuous like linear regression. Over here linear regression, it's a continuous variable, sales could be anything, but I have a dependent variable which could be only 1 and 0. When such scenario can happen, 1 and 0? Suppose you want to predict the outcome of COVID vaccine. What are the possible outcomes the COVID vaccination might have? It might prevent you from having coronavirus, prevent it, or does not prevent it. Can you think of any other outcome? No, right? Or suppose that I am a bank, okay, and you have come for loan. I have given you loan. So after taking the loan, what are the possible outcomes that could have been the that could have taken place? Either you pay my money back or you don't pay my money back, isn't it? That means either you become a defaulter or you become a good customer. Can you think of any other possible outcome if I have given you a loan? Yes, no, don't know, anything? Can you think of any other outcome after taking a loan? No, right? So probably only these are the two outcomes we might have. Half paid, still that is a defaulter. If you have lent me some money and I have half paid it, what you are going to tell? That I have not paid your total amount, right? So paying back to the bank means principal plus interest total. That's a good customer. So even if you pay half, still the bank is not going to leave you, right? They are going to chase you. So still you will be categorized as a default. So when these type of things happen, okay, then we can have a dependent variable which could either be 1 or 0. So for defaulter, we can code it with 1 or 0, anything, whatever be it 1 or 0, the other one will be the opposite. Okay, usually we will be coding them as 1 and 0. So if I want to predict that if I pay you some money, are you going to pay my money back or not? Okay, and how do we predict that? uh, we can predict that by um, let me think of an example. Maybe there are other independent variables. Okay, other independent variables, and I want to predict that if I give you loan, are you going to pay my money back or not? Okay, this is the kind of dependent variable, not this type. So other independent variable could be my bank balance, the customer's bank balance, how many dependents they have, financially dependent people. Okay, maybe do they own a house or not? Yes or no? Okay, how much salary they earn. These are the could be independent variables. But now, before we proceed with all this stuff, let us understand what is going to be the problem if we don't use a logistic regression. What is going to be the problem if we use a linear regression instead? Can anyone think of any idea what will be the problem? Okay, let me tell you what could have been the possible problem. That is, suppose we use a linear regression. Okay, first of all, the problem will be in linear regression if my actual variable is 100. Now, when I predict it, is it not possible for me to predict it to be 120? Yes, no, yes, absolutely. And it is similarly possible for me to under predict it. Either I can over predict or I can under predict. Everything is possible in linear regression. But in this scenario, that my dependent variable is either 1 or 0, what if we over predict or what if we under predict? It does not mean anything, right? Our dependent variable is whether you can be default or a good customer. So that's why I have coded them 1 and 0. Suddenly, if you are saying 2, it means nothing, it has no meaning, or negative 1, it has no meaning. This is one problem. Second problem will be, now just imagine that some, I mean, anyhow, when you have predicted it, somehow you have predicted it between 1 and 0. Okay, between 1 and 0. Now, what will be the residuals? Somebody raised their hand. Now, what will be the residual values? The residuals will also be dependent minus predicted only 1 and 0. And the assumption of linear regression says that residual values should be normally distributed, right? So if my residual is 1 and 0, it can never be normally distributed data with 1 and 0, isn't it? So that's why when my dependent variable is a binary, I couldn't possibly use a no, linear regression. And if my the assumption is violated, not even validated theoretically, then I cannot use it. Okay, these are the problems what we will be getting. Now let us understand about the equation part. In logistic regression, that is what I said, problem of normality and similarly homoscedasticity will also be a problem. Okay, now this is my linear regression equation, y equals to b0 plus b1x. Okay, now if I use a linear model, my dependent variable is 0 and 1. So this is the problem. I said that it might be more than 1 and less than 0. That's a problem. So we cannot have a linear or straight line, okay, defining the 1 and 0. Rather, we should have something like a S curve which will be between 1 and 0. So what do I mean by that? That is, the statisticians have seen that if this is my linear regression, y equals to b0 plus b1x, if we take log on both the sides, logarithm of y equals to logarithm of b0 plus b1x, if we take we do that and we solve the equation, okay, then we will be getting an equation something like this: p equals to 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus this one. Now if you pay little attention, you will understand this is exactly a linear regression, b0 plus b1x2 b2x2, okay. This is exactly a linear regression because this is just a modified form of linear regression. Okay, now if you want to see the full derivation, you can go to Wikipedia and search for logistic regression. Yes, Harsha, I'll just waiting for all the people to join and then I'm going to give it to you. If you check for logistic regression, this one. So over here, you will get to see that the entire derivation part. Okay, but you may not just go and check it because it's not going to be much useful. Even if you don't learn it by heart, that's not going to be any problem. Okay, so in this equation, p equals to 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus this one. What do I mean by that? It means p is the probability value. Okay, let me ask you some questions to make you understand. It's going to be very easy. Just listen to me. Tell me that you go to any country, okay, any other country, and you see some human being standing in front of you. Okay, now will you be able to understand whether they are male or female? Okay, so many people, or maybe I call it people. Okay, so many people. Suppose this one. By just looking at that, looking at them, do you understand who are the male and who are the female? 100%. How about this guy? What do you think? The second from the left, male. Absolutely correct. How about this guy? This person? Female. Absolutely correct. Now you tell me the most difficult question: how you are identifying them? How is it possible that you are identifying them? By the looks, or you have certain rules in your mind? Okay, you have certain rules in your mind, like this person, okay, or this person. I mean, this person has shorter hair. Still, you are not going to make any mistake, right? In identifying her as a girl. And how can you do that? Because you have certain rules in your mind that usually male will be having beard and mustache, female will be having longer hair, okay, and maybe female will be having a softer skin tone, okay, and maybe from their dresses, women will be wearing mostly free flowing dresses, whereas male will be wearing mostly more compact dresses. Okay, so with all this stuff you could understand that. Okay, because since your childhood you have been watching human being and your parents have taught you how to understand that. Okay, now the same thing, if I ask you, is it possible for you to figure out between some gorillas which is male and which is female? Is it possible for you to do that? Probably no, because we have not been brought up with the gorillas, right? So we don't have those rules in our mind with which we can understand which is male gorilla and which is female gorilla. We don't know that, right? But with uh, since our childhood, since we have been watching people around us, that's why we know. All right. If you had studied gorilla, probably it would have been possible for you to do that. Now, when a model is going to do that, the model doesn't have any eyes, but still the model can experience by skimming through the data. For example, suppose uh, with the looks you could say which is male and female. Suppose we don't have these looks, rather we have their behavioral pattern. Okay, still it is possible for us to figure out how. Suppose in my data I have boys and I have girls. Okay, and as I said, I need to code them with some 1 and 0. I can code anyone as anything, like girl 1, boys 0, or boys 1, girl 0. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's up to you. You can code them anything. Now, suppose I have my dependent variable, which is boy, boy, girl. Okay, and then I have some of their behavioral pattern. Maybe how many hours they spend for shopping. Okay, boys don't shop usually. Girls will be spending nothing less than how many, 40 hours per week. Okay, some boys might spend maybe 1 hour. Some girls would like to spend more hours for shopping, they love shopping. All right, and hypothetical example, then maybe how many bottles of beers they are drinking maybe per week. Okay, how about the boys? What should have been the number? Zero. My God, no. I'm say talking about the boys. Yes, 80. That's correct. And that should have been the correct type of thing. Okay, something around 78. Girls don't drink. Okay, maybe some guys drink little less. Some guys, some girls even drink maybe. So kind of this. All right. Now you tell me, when the model will look into the data, it's a label data because it's given these are the boys, these are the shopping behavior. Now looking into this data, do you understand that into the shop, if they look into the dependent variable and the shopping behavior, is there any distinguishing behavior between boys and girls? Do you get to notice that? Of course, yes, there are distinguishing behavior, right? Absolutely. So we understand the for shopping is less, it's more likely to be a boy. When the shopping is more, it's more likely to be a girl, right? So just like the linear regression, you will be getting a p-value, okay, which is going to be less than 0.05. That's why we understand. So if it is less than 0.05, we understand this variable can distinguish between boys and girls based on this variable. Similarly, in beer also, we can understand, right? Checking the beer pattern, whether they are boy or girl, we can understand. So this one is also going to be p-value less than 0.05. Now, Suppose we have something called movies. How many movies you watch maybe per month? All right. Now you tell me, looking at the movie, do you understand which is girl and which is boy? No, absolutely no, because there is no distinguishing mark. So the p value this time will be more than 0.05. So movie, we understand this is not going to be important, nor we can distinguish between boys and girl based on movies. So we are going to delete it just the way we have done it in linear regression. We are going to delete it. All right. Now, as we have a p-value, similarly, we are going to have a coefficient as well. Okay. Some coefficient. Okay. Maybe b1, maybe b2, some coefficient. Now, if I go back to the original equation over there, now we are also going to have a base intercept. Okay. Which is b0 base intercept based on this model. So we are going to get a number. So now we can put the b0 over there. b1 we will get the coefficient. X1 is going to be the independent variable, this value. X2 will be the next independent variable, this value. And the coefficients we have gotten it. Now if we solve the equation, we will get a value of p. This much do you understand? This much do you understand? Or anybody has any question? No question up to this much? All right, great. So let's move ahead. Now we will be getting a value called p. P is a probability. Okay. Now the probability for what? Probability to be 1. So you remember 1 means boys. Suppose this one, looking at these variables, your model says this is a probability, probability zero point 0.9. It means it is 90% chance to be 1, or 1 means boy, because we have coded here 1 means boy. Okay, in reality this is going to be dependent variable will be 1 or and 0. Okay, this is actually not going to be girl and boy. This is how it's actually going to be. So now do you understand what is this probability value saying? All right, and so my model says it is 90% likely to be a boy, and dependent variable actually it is a boy. That means what? It is a correct prediction or wrong prediction? What do you think? Correct, absolutely correct. So it's a correct one. I'll make it green then. Okay, no, it seems like Pakistan green. I don't like that. Okay, this one. Okay, now next one. Suppose uh, the model gives a probability value. For all the probability values, it will be revealed to you by the model. Okay, you don't have to do anything. Automatically they will be revealed. So the next one says maybe 0.1. That means what? It's 10% chance to be a boy, and actually this is a boy. So what do you think? It's a correct prediction or wrong prediction? Wrong. Correct. This is wrong. Next one also says 0.1. Now you tell me, correct or wrong? This one? Yes, this one is absolutely correct, because Dependent variable actually is a girl. It is saying only 10% chance to be a boy, means 90% chance to be a girl, and actually this is the correct one. So this is how exactly we are going to predict the probabilities. Okay, so what we are going to do with the probabilities or how the business is going to use them, that I'll tell you later on. But you can be rest assured the business can save millions of dollars based on these probabilities. Okay, so I mean, a huge number of companies are using this type of predictive modelings. All the big companies, including your Amazon, Walmart. I mean, in any industries you can think of, any big companies, they are using it. All right. So now are you clear with? So it is a probability, and probability can never be more than 1 or less than 0. So this probability will always be between 1 and 0. It's never going to be more than 1 or less than 0. All right. Clear up to this much? Okay. All right. Let me share your attendance link first. Can it be 1? Um, Seldom it will happen. Usually it's not going to be exactly 100% prediction. It's in reality it's always going to be between 1 and 0. Okay, theoretically it is possible to be 1 theoretically, but with real world data I have never seen it to be 1 nor 0. It's always going to be in between 1 and 0. Okay, now let me tell you another concept. What if it is zero point 0.5? Okay, good question, Shahana. Uh, if it is zero point 0.5, then what do we decide on that? That I will tell you later on. Just park this question. How do we understand the predictive power of the model, whether the model is reliable or not, whether we should use it for our prediction or not, the data is sufficient or not? These are the questions I will answer later on. Okay, not exactly now. So I'll answer it today itself. All right. Now there is another concept, that is probability and odds. Okay, odds and probability. So what does it mean? Can you tell me one thing? What is Fahrenheit and centigrade? What are these two things? Anyone knows about it? Fahrenheit and centigrade, temperature units, just two different scales, just like kilometer and meter, measurements of temperature. Absolutely correct, all of you. Just like kilometer and meter, they are the same thing, just measured on two different scales. Similarly, we have something called probability and odds. Okay, whatever its probability can be measured in terms of odds as well. Same thing. So what is the formula? Odds means probability divided by 1 minus probability. Okay, suppose my probability is, okay, this is my probability, so I can convert it into odds. The formula is pretty simple: probability then divided by 1 minus probability, and the odds will be probability divided by 1 minus probability. These are the odds. All right, now if I want to convert the odds, if I want to convert the odds, the formula is odds divided by 1 plus odds. 1 plus odds, and I can convert it back into probabilities, odds divided by 1 plus odds. All right. Now the question comes, why am I taking so much of pain to convert it into odds and probabilities and vice versa? In order to answer that, let me ask you a question. Suppose uh, there is a job opportunity, okay, that's with Google, okay, Google, and it will be posted at the Santa Clara, okay, US, their best office, and they are going to pay you a salary of 1 million USD per year. All right, don't be too greedy, it's not per month, per year. Now I'm also interested that one of you get the job, because they are saying that if you get the job, even I will get your 1 year salary, which is $1 million as my commission. So the condition is, from this pool of students, out of all of you guys, someone should get the job. Okay. So what I check, and I get to know that your chance to get the job is 30%, 0.3. So what I want to do is, I'm not happy with that. So I just make you drink a tonic. This tonic will double up the probability for you to get this job. Now can you tell me, after drinking the tonic, how much will be your probability? And don't doubt the tonics. I mean, just imagine that it does double up the probability to get your job. 0.6. All right, I'm still not happy about that, because it's $1 million, it's a lot of money. So so the Prajakta is saying zero point 0.8. How come? It was earlier zero point 0.3. It's doubled. Okay. So I'm still not very happy about that. So what I do is, there are some monks, okay, some Guruji, Babaji, they will be will be giving some talisman to you. Okay. You know what is a talisman, right? No, something else is coming. Yeah, something like that. Okay, something like that, some kind of locket or something. Okay, so they have given it to you, which will double up the probability. Okay, now yeah, taviz, that's correct. Yeah, something like this, that's correct. So which is going to double up your probability, and imagine this is also going to work. Now can you tell me how much is going to be your probability to get the job? 1. All right, yes, because it cannot be more than 1, right? Now tell me, I have two different scenarios where your initial probability was zero point 0.2, and second one, your initial probability is zero point 0.7. So with the tonic, so how much will it be? 0.4, right? And this one, with the tonic, which was earlier 0.71. Okay, now with Guruji's Taviz, how much will it be now? From zero point 0.4, 0.8, yes. And this one, 1. So that means what? You are saying the Taviz is working over here, but the Taviz is not working over here. So its powers, that is kind of fluctuating. That means the Taviz is fluctuating the powers. It cannot improve the probability anymore. All right. Now, the same thing, whatever I said, The same thing, let me do it in some other way. That means when I said zero point 0.3, probability of zero point 0.3, if probability of zero point 0.3 is there, that means what? Probability of zero point 0.3 is equivalent to odds of 0.43. Same thing, right? And let me double up the odds, which is going to be 0.86. Now, this one, that means the double of this probability 0.3, just in a different scale. Okay. Now, let me convert it back into probability. Let's see what happens. So the probability becomes 0.462. So it actually does not become zero point 0.6. Are you getting this point? So when we had said zero point 0.6, we had done a wrong calculation. Okay, because probabilities cannot be multiplied by 2 when it needs to be doubled up. Just I remember an example. Uh, so about a year back, when our offices were open, now we are all working from home, but when it was open, so there was a Domino's pizza shop in our campus. So so sometimes we used to go there for having pizza. So I was telling to this counter guy that earlier we were better off. We were giving one buy one get one free, but nowadays you have stopped doing that. You give us only 25% discount, only 25%. So this guy was telling me in reply, sir, but you are buying two pizza, so that means you are getting 25%, 25%, 50%, which is same as the earlier one. So I said, what if I am going to buy five pizzas? That means 125%, right? So as per your calculation, then are you going to give me four pizzas and the money for one pizza just back to me? No, right? Because this bugger, because he is not very educated, he does not understand that percentages are not calculated in this way. Okay, so even if I buy 1,000 pizzas, still the discount will remain 25%. You just don't add them up. Similarly, when we are doing any calculation in probability, we just cannot multiply them by 2 because the scale of probability is limited to 0 to 1. We just cannot do that. So if we want to double it up, we need to convert it in terms of odds. Okay. In odds, we can do any calculation. The reason being, the scale of odds is unlimited. There is no limit for odds. It's unlimited. Okay. So even if your wrong calculation, even if you calculate your odds to be like 5,000 or maybe 50,000, the probability is never going to be 1. Presently it is showing me 1 because it is getting rounded off. I don't have enough decimal places. If I have enough decimal places, it's never going to be 1. All right. On the other hand, if your probability, if it is 0, your odds will also be 0. But if it ever gets to reach 1, odds will be undefined, infinite, which is such a big number which has not yet been defined in the world. Okay, clear? So, so this is to make you understand that whenever we do any calculation, it's going to be all the calculations will be based on odds. Okay, at the back end you don't get to see that, but at the back end everything will be based on odds. Okay, you did not understand from point 3 to point 6. All right, now, yeah, Rishikesh, if I say point 3, probability of point 3, that is same as saying odds of 0.43. This much you understand? Just like saying 1 kilometer and 1000 meters, same thing. Now, rather than doubling up the probability, what if I double up the odds? That's the same thing, right? So I multiply the odds with 2. So I get 0.86. That is same as doubling up the probability, okay? So that is 0.86. And this 0.86, I convert this odd into probability. So I get 0.46. Now you understand? All right. So all the calculations will be done in terms of odds. But you don't worry about it, because when you get to see the probabilities, this part, the model will automatically calculate them back into probabilities and show you only the probability values. You don't get to see all those odds. But at the back end, it's going to be calculated in terms of odds. So in some interview, if they ask you, that's why I'm just telling you. It is important for you to understand that. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Dummy variable, we have already done that. No problem with that. Now, before we get into the results and interpretation, let me go to a case study. Okay, it will be easier for you to understand then. Okay, let me again open up the Jupyter notebook. It's going to be easier for you to check and for me to explain because it has a wider screen. Okay, click on new Python 3, new Jupyter notebook has been opened up. All right. Now, along with it, I will also open up the spider. So it will be easier for you to understand. Okay, now let me first show you the data. Now in this data, it is a banking client. Okay. Now can anyone tell me how do the banks make money? How do the banks earn money? Any idea? By lending loan. All right. That's one way of doing that. Absolutely correct. So they will ask people to deposit money, okay, in terms of savings as well as fixed deposit. People will deposit money and they are going to lend loan. That is, loan is just one way of earning money. So to tell you, whenever you do any transaction with a bank, be it a loan, any sort of loan, be it a home loan, car loan, personal loan, any sort of loan, the banks earn money. Whenever you use a credit card, okay, credit card or debit card, the banks earn money. Shares, banks don't earn money through shares. The reason being, you buy the shares from demat. Yeah, with the banks providing demat, you can say that. So they are charging you for the demat, and whenever you do a transaction with the share, they will charge a commission out of that whenever you buy or sell. Yes, absolutely correct with share. Brokerages on share, absolutely correct. Okay, banks will earn money on that. There is something called letter of credit. Okay, banks will earn money on that by saying that you are a customer. I am just issuing you a letter of credit. That means I am authorizing you to go and say to someone else that you have maybe 50 crores of money with me. Everybody will authorize or recognize that letter, so they will be able to make some transaction with you. Because if you fail to pay that money, I will fail pay up to 50 crores. So banks will be earning insurance on interest on that. So in short, whatever transaction you make, health insurance, life insurance, any business, locker, okay, any business you, any transaction you make with a bank, banks earn money. That's in short. So it is quite imperative that the number of customers the banks have, they would not want them, the customers, to go away and start transaction with another bank. Is it not? So if I'm a bank, you all are my customer, I would not like you to just go away to another bank. Okay. Now, but how do I try to retain one of my customer? How do I retain them back? I How do I ensure that they do not go away from my bank and join another bank? Any idea? Offers providing less interest, absolutely correct. But then if a particular bank has about 10 million customers, it is not possible for them to give all of them the offers. Interchange fee reduction, absolutely correct. Good service, absolutely correct. But if they have about 10 million customers, is it possible for them to give these services to all of them? No, right? Right. Suppose there are so many people working in a company. If someone resigns, then the HR will say, okay, why do you resign? Are you going to go to another job? So you're getting, maybe here you're getting 10 rupees, over there just a second. Yeah, sorry. So if someone resigns, they will ask, okay, how much salary the new company is giving you. If they say, okay, they are giving me 12 rupees, then they will say, okay, I'll match it up, we will also pay you 12 rupees. But that only happens when you resign. when they understand that you are going to go away from them, right? But in a bank, out of 10 million customers, how do you know that which all of the customers are going to go away from me? They're not going to tell you, right? Like, just like the way, I mean, uh, in a company, people resign. They're not going to come and tell you, okay, I'm going to start my transaction with another bank. Maybe they will still have some meager, maybe 5,000 rupees in your bank. They will not deposit any more money and they will take the money to some other bank. You don't know. And you just cannot keep on calling all the 10 million customers. Why don't you put more money? It might so have happened that I have only 5,000 rupees. I don't have any more. Clear with the question? By looking up the transactions rate, by comparing previous transaction, but by comparing previous transaction, is it possible for you to say that he is going to leave or he is going to stay? No, right? So how do you know? It might so have happened that presently due to lockdown you don't have salary, so you are unable to deposit, you don't have money. That doesn't mean that you are going to leave the bank and go to some other bank. So it is not going to be so easy. Okay. So what we have to do, we have a data set. With the data set, this is my historical data. With the data set, the first variable is churn. Okay. In churn, I have customers who have stayed or who have left my bank. One means they have already left. Zero means they have stayed. Okay. This is my dependent variable. And I have all the other independent variables like utilization. If they are utilizing 100% of the bank service, is going to be 1, else is going to be 0. Okay. So how much services they are utilizing, each one of them, each row shows me a different customer. Okay. Their age, how many number of loans they have, how many dependents, financially dependent people they have. If somebody has his wife and his son, both of them are financially dependent on them, that means they have two. Okay. If somebody does not have any dependent, financially no one is dependent on them, so they have zero dependent. Their monthly income, how many savings accounts they have, and their debt ratio. Debt ratio means if you are earning 100 rupees, you have taken a loan of either home loan or credit card or whatever it is, 50 rupees, your debt ratio is going to be 0.5. So if you have more loan, it's going to be a 0.8 debt ratio. Okay. So with all this stuff, what we have to do is we need to create a probabilities. We need to create a probabilities for all this. And we need to match whether these probabilities are being calculated or properly calculated or not. Okay. So what is going to be the benefit out of it? Benefit will be, presently you might be thinking these are already left and these people have already retained, so what do I know by knowing the probability? But the advantage will be, once you do that, so then probably if you have some new guys who have recently joined, for whom you don't know whether they are going to leave or stay, so then you will be having your probability. If the probability says zero point 0.9, then you understand this guy is going to leave. If this says zero point 0.1, then you understand that this guy is not going to leave. So no worries about that. But you should worry about this guy because the probability says he's going to leave. And then again you uh, estimate how profitable customer is this one to you. Okay, if this one's profitable customer, you proactively go and talk to this person. What is the problem? Let me give you some benefit. Okay. or you just delve into their account for more details. But then out of 10 million people, it is not possible for us to go and check each and every people's account. So with this thing, we understand who are the person who are more likely to leave. This much clear to you? The business question. All right. So the first thing we need to do is using this one, this data set, we need to figure out their probability values. Okay. So that this can be used later on. All right. Let's start. This one's going to be very similar to linear regression. First of all, we are going to import the uh, packages. These are all the packages what we are going to require for. Let me create something. Okay, by pressing Control and Enter, we execute that. Then os dot change directory. Okay, so you can press the Shift tab to show you all this stuff. So it's asking for the path. So the path is, this is the path. I will copy the path. I'll put it over there, and it should be put into a quote, inverted quotes. And I need to change the slashes to double slash. Okay, and execute it. Next, you know how to do that. Import the data set. Okay, and just check it. Import the data set and check it. Okay, whatever I values I have, churn, utilization, age, all this stuff, date ratio, that's absolutely fine. Now what we're going to check is for missing value. Okay, I have imported that as data, so you can write data dot is null dot sum. Okay, so I don't have any missing values. Good, no problem. Okay, so I require another package, that is import matplotlib.pyplot. This is only going to be required for your Jupyter notebook. Okay, it is not going to be required for Spider. For the outlier treatment, we have already done that in linear regression. The same thing what we are going to do is we are going to check for the columns. So first of all, use this one. Okay, the function, this time we are going to use it for utilization. Data.boxplot column equals to utilization. Let's check it. No outliers. Absolutely fine. No problem. Then let's do it for age. Just change the value to age. Age, I have problem. Okay, so let's remove the outliers from age. Let's do that with age. I've executed that. Let's check for the outliers age. I don't have any outliers now. Great. Let's do it for monthly income. Lots of problem. Okay, so if you check data dot monthly income dot describe, so you can see there is a minimum salary called 1 rupee, which is very unlikely. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to this time comment it out. This time let's execute it. Okay, and then again you execute this one. Though it is showing you, it does not matter, you just need to execute it only once, because earlier we were having a minimum value of 1. Now if I just again describe it, minimum value 1 has been uh, omitted, so this one's fine. Then we will be doing that for debt ratio. Again we have problems, so let's remove the outliers. Now check it. Though it is showing you, but it is negligible, it doesn't matter, just you have executed it once, it doesn't matter. So we have done that earlier, right? Missing value is done. now what we are going to do is, with all the independent variables. Okay, so if I just check data dot head, uh, utilization, age, number of loans, number of dependents, these are all independent variables, right? All of them. So I'm going to take all of them and create a new column called training columns. Okay, just a training columns only with the numeric variables from utilization to debt ratio. Okay, and so we can just check training columns dot head. How does it look like? Except churn, I have everything else. Okay, because later on I don't have to write all the names. All right, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the model. Okay, and how do you write the execute the model? That's very simple. So you write logit, just give some name, any name, sm.logit, sm with stats model, we named it as sm, just like linear regression, sm.logit. The dependent variable is which one? Data churn, comma train underscore columns. So you don't have to write all the name of the independent variable. So this is the train underscore columns. All right, and then results equals to logit.fit and results.summary. It's going to show you the results, all of them simultaneously. Okay, now this is the result. In this result, what we are going to do is we will directly check the p-value, this p-value. So thank God we don't have any p-value which is more than 0.05. Can you get to see any value which is more than 0.05? What do you think? No, absolutely no. So we don't have to remove any variable. Fine. If we had if we had any variables more than 0.05, more than one variable such like that, so then we had to check again the z value. Higher the absolute z value, more important that variable is for our model. Okay, no problem. Okay, this one's fine. And how do you remove the variable? So you would have gone here. So if I have to delete something, I would have deleted that. Okay, just let me show you something like that. So copy paste it. Okay, so utilization, delete it, execute train underscore columns, and then here I have utilization. Now you execute it once again. Now you don't have utilization. Okay, this is how I would have done that, or you would have done it. Okay, so that's no problem. So we will just do it. Utilization is back. All right, let me show you the analytics cheat sheet which I had sent you earlier. You also have that is for logistic regression. This is for logistic regression. Okay, so we have checked for the independent p-values. Next, what we have to check is for confidence interval. So what is confidence interval? These two columns you need to check for each variable. All of them, these two values should be of same sign. If they're negative, both of them should be negative. If they're positive, both of them should be positive. If one negative, one positive is there, that is a serious error and I would have deleted that variable. But thank God we don't have any variable which is one negative, one positive. Can you get to see any variable which is one negative, one positive? No, absolutely correct. So it's okay. We don't have to remove anything based on confidence interval. Okay, we are done over here. Next part is so what I have done is this part, though it's written over there, you may not execute this part of code because I had done it. This part of code, you don't have to change anything, just execute that. So I mean, if you at all I felt you have any problem by looking into this table, so then you could have executed that. The same table with p-value, coefficient and z-value, this would have come. Okay, but you may not execute that. So this is not at all compulsory. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check for VIF. Okay, variance inflation variable factor of multicollinearity. What we had done it for linear regression. You remember VIF? Yesterday we had done it. But the problem is VIF is not supported by logistic regression. So we need to run the previous linear regression code with the variables what we have over here. Okay, with the variables. One more thing before I show you the linear regression is I can write results dot confidence interval. This is going to show you the same confidence interval. Okay, whatever we can see over here, the same stuff. So again, not required. Not required again. Now what we are going to do is again we are going to use for the VIF calculation, we are going to run for the linear regression. The stuff what we do for linear regression. Just a second. Yes, sorry guys. So what I was telling you that up to this much, it is the exactly the same linear regression code for the VIF and the model running. Okay, see, these are the packages. Okay, this is the same variable, whatever we have till now. Okay, and this is for the VIF. So if I execute it, directly you have the VIF. Do you get to see any VIF which is more than 3? Anything more than 3? Yes, no, no, right? So based on VIF, we are not going to remove any variable. So absolutely fine, but this needs to be checked. Okay, absolutely fine. We are now, what else we have to do? We need to check for uh, there is something attendance link. Okay, just a minute. Did you join just now? This one's here attendance link. So now we have to check for some of the predictive power of the model. Okay. So what you are asking about, how do we know that whether it's a good model or not? So how do we do that? So again, this is the one. Now, before we do that, so what I am trying to do is rather than train columns, I am just creating train underscore columns our where we had all the independent variables, right? We had saved it over here, but now I could have let it be as train underscore column, but I am just changing it as input data, and my output data is going to be my the dependent variable, that is churn. Okay, now if you check input data dot head, okay, these are all my independent variables. Okay, and if you check output data dot head, this is my dependent variable. Okay, this is my dependent variable, input data output data. Okay, it will be easier for you to do it now. Now what you have to do, we need to check for uh, AUC. What is AUC? I will tell you, but in order to check AUC I require some packages. Okay, these are the packages what we require. AUC is something which is a statistics which tells me about the predictive power of my model. All right, now tell me that I have to distinguish between the people who are going to leave my bank, 1, and 0 who are going to stay. Out of 100 such data rows, my model has done it with 50% accuracy. Okay, whatever my model has predicted, out of those 50% had been correct. So what do you think, my model is doing a good job or not? What do you think? Yes, no, at least something. You're saying no. Why not? Arfali, Geeta, why not? Why 50% accuracy is not a good one? No, not even at large scale is good because you have only two outcomes, 0 and 1. If you are doing at a 50% accuracy, that means you are just taking a guess. Is it not? If I'm saying in the next few matches, whether in the next 100 matches, India's for cricket team is going to win or lose, even if you say for 50%, I mean, even if you say all of them they are going to win, still law probability says 50% of the matches they are going to win. It's only win and lose, right? Or just saying that if I try to predict for a toss of a coin whether it's going to be head or tail, if you say all of them are going to be head, still you are going to be 50% correct. That means my model, I don't require a model to be 50% correct, right? I could have done a guesswork. That means as a model, this is the worst possible result. You get this part? And what would have been the best possible result? If I could achieve a success rate of 100%, that would have been the best. Okay, so AUC means area under the curve. In some of the software, it is also called C statistics. Both are the same thing. AUC and C stat tells you it ranges from zero point 0.5 to 1. Zero point 0.5 means worst, 1 means best. Closer to 1, better the model. Okay, this is what we need to figure out. So what we are going to do is over here again we are going to execute the logistic regression once again, because earlier we had executed it with stats model. It shows me a probability value but doesn't show me the AUC. And this time we are going to use scikit-learn to execute the logistic regression once again, which is going to show me the AUC but not uh, probability values. That's why we need to again execute it. Okay, just copy paste it, and you can just execute it. Okay, extra warning message. Okay, I think there is no problem. Okay, so if I execute it once again, so this one, the probability values. All right, now it has done its job. Logistic regression has been done, and for all of them they have created the probability values. Okay, these are the probability values. Now along with the probability values, I also require the dependent variable, that is churn, right? So I need to merge it along with this one. So I will merge them together. This time I will call the probability values as P and the dependent variable as Y. Okay, I just renamed it. I renamed it. Okay, you simply copy paste all this stuff and this is going to be just work fine. Now in order to calculate the AUC, so what I need to do is I need to just copy paste this part. Okay, even if you just copy paste this part, it's all going to work fine. Even if you don't understand, you don't have to write the entire code once again. Just copy paste it, because it's going to take the input data, output data all from the variable what is given. Okay, so that's why I had just created input data, output data over here. So that was important. Once you have done that, you don't have to worry about anything else. You simply execute it. Okay, and this curve has been created. Now it tells you the distance between the how much area the red line covers and the blue line, how much area it covers. Do you understand how much area it covers? Not really, right? You don't understand. So you just check the value, which is 78%. Okay, I said closer to one, better the model. This is your AUC value. Okay, ROC curve. This is your AUC value. So it's written in there in the analytics cheat sheet. AUC 0.5 to 1, closer to 1, better the model. So which is 70.78, which is very close to zero point 0.8, which is a reasonably good model. Okay, one thing I forgot to tell you, that is R square. I have not highlighted it. That means it's not a very good important measure, but still it is there. R square, you get to see that over here in this result. This is your R square, pseudo R square, which is 0.23, 23%. Absolutely not good. But R square is not an important measure for logistic regression. There are a lot of analysts who will not even be checking R square. So it doesn't matter. So highlighted parts are more important. Okay. So AUC is 0.78, which is very close to zero point 0.8, which is, means it's a reasonably good model. Any question up to this much? Any question up to this much? Clear? Again, tomorrow I'll be giving you a case study and you have to work it out. Are you clear up to this much? Any question? Okay. So now the last part is called the case. It means Kolmogorov-Smirnov value. Case, again, it has a long code, but you just have to copy paste it. Okay, this is all about copy pasting this entire part. There are two methods. First method is you just copy paste it up to this much. Okay, just copy paste. And all you have to remember is, if you have done the confusion matrix, that sorry, not confusion matrix, that is your uh, CSTAT, AUC, then you can simply copy paste it. Okay, because it's going to take all the input variables all from here. Though it has a little bigger code. Okay, till now they don't have any package which will all include it. That's why I had to write this codes manually, but you don't have to worry. You simply copy paste it. Okay, you simply copy paste it and execute that, and your case value here you will get it in this entire table. You don't have to check anything else. Forget about anything else. Just go into the right side and check where is your star mark. This is your star mark, this row, and look at the K stat, which is 0.5396. These are the workings to calculate this column. That's it. Okay, only this column. Nothing else is important. The value is 0.53.96, about 54%. Okay, case is 54%. Again, if you go to your analytics cheat sheet, so I said 0 to 1, this one, lies between 0 to 1, closer to 1, better the model. Thumb rule says if it lies between zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.7, it's a good model. In real world, you don't actually expect it to be some 0.9598, 98%, 95%. Doesn't happen like this. If it is between zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.7, it's a reasonably good model. All right, which is coming to be 54% roughly, which is a good model. All right, so these are the important part what we need to understand. Sensitivity, specificity, Python doesn't calculate it automatically, so you can leave it out. Gini or Chomsky, it is just correlated to CSTAT. If we have calculated AUC, we don't require that. Gini or AUC is the either or. Okay, so it is not important. So this part is not important. Only important is the highlighted part. This part is the important one. Okay, so once this one's done, so what we can do is we can just, okay, one more thing. There is another method to do the same case. Again, you simply copy paste it. Just copy paste it, this part. The same case value can be calculated, just another method. Okay, just another method. You just copy paste it and execute, and here it's written case is 54%. You directly get to see that. You can use any one of them, no problem. Now I'm going to just merge my data set. Okay, to get the entire data set, just you can see normal merge, and I will explain you the business interpretation out of it. Okay, I will just export this data set on a CSV file, final.to underscore CSV. Okay, uh, Jupyter notebook, does it send it? Yes. Okay, now with this one we can just understand the business interpretation out of it. Okay, I'm going to tell you the business interpretation, just the last part, and then we are going to conclude today's class. So we can delete these columns. We are not going to require it. Index, we can delete it. All, we can delete the independent variables as well. All we require is the probability values and the churn. Okay, so what people are going to do is, if you check in the total amount of data, how many rows are there? 1,33,257 rows are there total. Okay, 1,33,257. Let's assume it to be 1,33,000. And out of them, how many people actually had left? 8618. Let's imagine it to be 8,600 have left. This is total number of people, and these people have left. Now, if you do not have any model, okay, just out of randomly you choose about 100 people on a random basis. Out of, you pick up out 100 people out of them, and you give them some offer. Okay, although 100 people, random basis. Now then the offer would have been given to how many correct customers who would have left? The same ratio. If out of 1,33,000 people, 8,600 were left, that means out of 100 people, sorry, my mistake, there should have been another zero. Okay, yeah, 6%. Now you got it. about 6.5%. Okay, let's assume to be a round figure 6%. That means 6% people had left out of total people. So if I had chosen randomly 100 people out of 100 people, I give all of them some offers, some discounts, some relationship managers. How many people would have been correctly chosen? Those actually who were about to leave my company. Can you do this calculation? Can you do this calculation? Anyone? This one seems to be very easy. Come on, you guys are engineers. Should be able to do that. If there are out of 100 white socks are there, okay, out of 100, 90 white socks are there, 10 black socks are there, okay, total 100. On a random basis, I pick up 10 socks. What is how many black socks I'll be getting out of this 10? 1. How do you do that? You check the percentage. 10% black, right? So 10% of 10 is 1. Similarly, over here, the churned left people is only 6%. So if you on a random basis pick up 100 people, how many people would have actually been churned? Only 6 people, right? 94 people would have been a waste by giving them some extra benefit would have been a waste, isn't it? That means here my efficiency or accuracy would have been 6% only. Now, now if I just uh, sort the probability values, if I check the probabilities where it is high, maybe out of this much, okay, wherever my probabilities are high, out of 13, out of 13 rows, out of 13 rows, I said all of them are going to leave. And how many of them actually left? 9, right? So what is my accuracy over here? 9 divided by 13, 69, 70%. So earlier my accuracy was only 6%, isn't it? Now it increased. It increased to 69%. Do you understand the difference from 60% to 69%? Improvement. Do you understand that? Now the same thing could have been used by a bank who is providing credit card. If these guys are approaching, they will reject these guys. I'll not give you a credit card. If they're asking for loan, they will be rejected. The same thing can be used by Amazon. By the way they are sending emails, they are only going to send emails who are more likely to buy their product. There are so many products. They cannot keep on sending mails. Sending mails also require cost. Did you understand this much? So having said that, it is very interesting to learn the business interpretation, but in your interviews, mostly people are going to ask you about this part, okay, the technical part. So I'm going to give you a case study tomorrow. I'll send it to you, the case study, again with a password. you need to open up the password by the data set tomorrow. I'll reveal the password tomorrow. All right. And you just need to analytics cheat sheet is already sent to you. Rest of the things I'll send it today. You just need to do the linear or logistic regression and tell me like your AUC and case. Only these two things you will have to tell me tomorrow. I will check how well versed you are with logistic regression. All right. If you have any question, you can ask me, else we will conclude the class today. Okay. And tomorrow is going to be your last class. If you have any question, you can ask me, or else we'll conclude it. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. See you tomorrow again at the same time, 7 to 9. All right. Anyone has missed their attendance link? All right. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Abhishek. See you tomorrow. Bye.